Hello all you hardcore boxing fans out there, how are you doing? It's Big Porky here, the voice of hardcore boxing. Now, I've been a boxing fan for years, and what annoys me more than anything, and if you're a proper boxing fan or a boxing person, it will annoy you as well. Referees and judges. Do you know what I mean? Now, as far as I'm concerned, referees, judges and sanctioning bodies and promoters, they all seem to put the spoke in, don't they? They all like to bend the rules. And anybody mentioning this bending of the rules, is out of order, or they're classed as a nut job, or anything like that. For example, that last night with Charlie Edwards were a shocker, to be honest. It was shocking. Nobody stood up to the WBC, did they? Nobody. The referee gave the fight to the opponent, the Mexican kid, and before you know where you are, it's been took away from him. He's like a world champion for 2 minutes. It's all wrong. They did the same thing with Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson, but the WBC relented, didn't they? But the WBC, I now know why they call it We Be Crooks. Shocking, wasn't it? Now, I'm going to give you my top 15 fights that I've actually watched myself, and I feel that the decisions were not very good. So they don't need to be in any order. I'm just going to give you 15 fights, and I'm either going to blame the referee or the judges, but we all know that referees and judges are controlled by promoters and sanctioning bodies, don't we? Especially after seeing that last night. Now, like I said, I'm going to give you 15 fights, just going down from 15 to 1, but they're all as bad as each other. The first one, now this is in my opinion, by the way, this is in my opinion, Hughie Fury against Parker. I felt that Hughie Fury won the fight. People can say, yeah, but Hughie were on back foot, but I felt he won the fight. So I think that were down to the judges. I'm not going to blame the referee for that. I think it were judges that spoilt that night, and Hughie's still without a world title. And Joseph Parker, he ended up a world champion, but he's not beat a champion at the time because the belt was vacant. Now, that's the first one that springs to mind. That was the judge's fault. The second one, in 14th, is one of the worst ones ever. Richard Steele. Now, Richard Steele stopped Meldrick Taylor against Julio Cesar Chavez. Now, that were a referee's decision. 2 seconds left, and he's talking to him now. If the fighter's talking to Richard Steele and he's saying he's looked away, by the time he waves in Chavez, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because he's not going to get to him in 2 seconds. It's like 1 and 2, that's it. So that for me is either incompetence or corruption. And whenever I hear the name Taylor, I always think about Meldrick Taylor. And then I think about Jermaine Taylor in the 12th round against Carl Froch. So I just think things could have been different for them. But whereas Jermaine Taylor, well, there were 14 seconds stopped when he lost against Froch, weren't there? Taylor's, there were 2 seconds, but he was stood up, wasn't he? Taylor were all over the place, wasn't he, taking punches, but Jermaine Taylor. But Meldrick Taylor against Chavez, I thought the referee spoilt that fight, and that were a robbery. Ray Leonard against Marvin Hagler, the judges spoilt that one. I thought Marvin Hagler forced the fight. Yeah, Ray Leonard were only fighting for 30 seconds of every round, but what about the other 2 minutes 30? Well, he's running for his life. Thought Marvin Hagler won that fight clearly. They all gave it to Ray Leonard because, well, he was Ray Leonard, wasn't he? Bit like they gave Ali the 2 of the fights against Ken Norton out of the 3, whereas I thought he lost all 3. I just felt that Ken Norton were Ali's bogeyman. Now, but they gave him the other 2 decisions because he were Ali, and you know, when the Ali show were in town, it brought a lot of money and a lot of revenue into boxing. Now, 12th on my list, and like I said, this list that I've got here, it's not in order of how bad the robberies are. There's just 15 fights that I've picked out. Tyson Fury against Wilder. When I first watched it, you could say that Tyson Fury were lucky to get a draw. Some of the rounds were really, really close, and a lot of people seem to be screaming robbery, so who knows, maybe I'm wrong on this, but fighting on back foot, getting dropped twice away from home as a challenger, I can see where that's a draw, but after watching it with the sound turned down, I could get Fury by a round. It was a very close fight, but if you're getting it by a round and you don't get the decision, well, it's a robbery, isn't it? If it's a robbery by 11 rounds or 1, it's still a robbery, isn't it? I mean, what is a robbery? It's where you think you've won and you know you've won, and they don't give it you. Now, that were the judges. I mean, so far we've had judges, ref, judges. It's just judges mainly all the time, innit? But they're controlled by sanctioning bodies and promoters, aren't they? Now, 11th robbery, Byron Mitchell against Sven Otka. Jeez, that was shocking, that's a shocker. The Sven Otka run continues, doesn't it? They call him the Phantom, don't they? I mean, do you know why they call him the Phantom? Because nobody ever sees him hit anybody. He's that fast. They call him the Phantom. I've never seen him hit anybody yet, Sven Otka. All he does is just this shadowy figure that just seems to pick wins upon points in Germany. So, Byron Mitchell against Sven Otka. The 10th one, Carl Froch against Mikhail Kessler. Well, Carl Froch, I thought the referee was awful in that fight, Roger Tillerman. He was his first... Sorry, he was a judge in the fight, sorry. Roger Tillerman. I thought he was awful. Really, really awful. But the referee in the fight, Froch dropped Kessler with a shot. Kessler went tumbling backwards. I mean, what else do you need? What more do you need for a knockdown? Unbelievable. I'm not just saying it because I'm a Froch fan. I just feel that it was shocking judging. Now, the scorecards in the Andre Ward fight were a lot closer than the Kessler fight. That's how bad it were. But it is what it is, isn't it? That was another Sauerland show. Then we move on to Joe Calzaghe against Robin Reed. The referee took a point off Robin Reed in the 8th round. Are you alright there, Rocky, scratching your nuts? Are you okay? Greekus. Robin Reid against Calzaghe. Robin Reid had a point took off him. These sort of things make all difference in fight, although they didn't make much difference on the scorecards because it was a split decision and all three judges had it the same score by 5 points. But I just felt that Robin Reid did enough. CompuBox had him winning 8 of the rounds and had him overall landing more shots and a better percentage rate. But Joe Calzaghe throws a lot of shots, doesn't he? But a lot of them shots, according to Robin, were just being blocked. I felt it were a robbery. I had Robin Reid a clear winner, same as Glenn McCrory did. So I blame the referee and the judges in that fight. But it were a WBO fight, wasn't it, in Newcastle, Frank Warren show. Now McCloskey against Amir Khan. Well, that's got to be the worst show I've ever seen for a world title fight stopped with a cut. I've had bigger cuts shaving. Thought it was shocking. I really did. I thought it was shocking. It's just one of them things, isn't it? I felt for Paul McCloskey. I mean, his plan was to take Amir Khan into deep water, and he never got his momentum back after that. And you know, Amir Khan rolled into town, didn't he, with Golden Boy, and everything's stacked in their favour. So I kind of felt for him. But yeah, so on to the 7th one, down to 7. Carl Thompson against Johnny Nelson. Well, that's probably ranks up there with the Meldrick Taylor stoppage against Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez. In fact, Johnny Nelson against Carl Thompson is the worst stoppage I've ever seen in a world title fight. It was shocking. Carl Thompson never got over it. Never got over that. And he wouldn't speak to Johnny Nelson for years. And Johnny Nelson, he never even got his belt, did he, for 14 years. Johnny Nelson was never given his belt for 14 years. That's probably because the WBO were that embarrassed that they classed it as a title fight. It was that bad. It really was that bad. And Johnny Nelson flukes a world title. Fluked it. And he's been dining out on it ever since. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. The referee in the Johnny Nelson fight against Carl Thompson was a Winderlicker. Now, Ricky Burns against Beltram, Ray Beltram. Oh my God. That's where I first decided that Britain is the new Germany. That was really bad. Ricky Burns looked embarrassed. How he ended up keeping his belt after that fight, I don't know. But Eddie Hearn to come out at the end and say I thought it could have gone either way, that usually means that they felt their guy lost. But you know, Burns kept his belt on the night, didn't he? Well, that was a bad decision as well. Manny Pacquiao against Timothy Bradley. Shocking. Really shocking. Really shocking. What can you say? I mean, they had 5 WBO judges watch the fight afterwards, and they all gave it to Manny Pacquiao, but it still didn't alter the fact that Tim Bradley ended up making millions and millions from luck and not talent. Although I do say he's not a bad fighter, but he was built up to be this superhuman guy, wasn't he? But trust me, Tim Bradley were dealt a fantastic hand that night, like Joshua were with the Charlie Martin fight. But it is what it is, isn't it? Now, the next one I'm going to mention is the Ward Kovalev Both fights I thought were terrible. The first fight, I had Kovalev clearly winning the first fight. I don't know what the judges were on, but if it's a tight fight against a gold medal Olympian from America fighting in America, you are not getting a decision if you're from Europe. I thought Kovalev were robbed in the first fight because of the judges. On the second fight, I don't know what that referee was on in the second fight, but that was shocking, and I mean shocking. Number 3, I'm going to go for Matthew Macklin against Felix Sturm. Thought that was a shocker. I really felt for Matthew Macklin that night. I had a bet on him because I felt that at the time Matthew Macklin were red hot and he was tipped for massive things, and he just didn't get the decision, Macklin, and I really felt for him, but that's boxing, isn't it? But I think that Macklin, after he lost that fight, I think he more or less emptied tank. He couldn't have put any more into that fight. I had him a clear winner, 8 rounds to 4. I don't know what the judges were looking at, but Matthew Macklin, in my opinion, was a clear winner at that fight. Arthur Abraham against Edison Miranda 1. Oh my God. What can we say about that? Arthur Abraham against Edison Miranda. Well, the tale of Abraham Miranda goes like this. Miranda broke Abraham's jaw earlier on. The referee goes to stop the fight, and Willie Sauerland, in his wisdom, sits up from his VIP seat next to his supermodel wife, who's half his age. He's not known as Big Willie Sauerland for note, by the way, because they've got to have something going for him to pull that bird, hasn't he? But anyway, getting back to Abraham Miranda, I felt that Abraham should have accepted the decision. He looked like he had, but the promoter, Willie Sauerland, didn't. He told the referee, Randy Newman, no, you carry on. He overruled the ref. The referee then proceeded to referee the fight for X amount of rounds after, were it 9 or 10 rounds or whatever, and took 5 points during the rounds off Miranda. So we get down to the points at the end, and Miranda's lost 5 points, but he's not being disqualified. I mean, they've broke every rule in the book, so why don't they just disqualify Miranda? They didn't need to, did they, when the judges are already in the pocket? The judges were in the Sauerland's pocket, weren't they? They gave the fight to Abraham, and by a clear margin, even taking into account the 5 points that they took off. They kept just giving round after round to Abraham. Plus the referee were taking a point off as well. I've never seen anything like it. And the Americans were that incensed that Abraham had to go out and fight in America for a rematch. It was that bad. But what can you do? But what can you do? But that's another Sauerland one. Not to mention all the other ones, the Svenotke ones with Glenn Johnson and all them others. I mean, it was going on for years in Germany, but like I said, Britain's the new Germany. And I'm going to finish off with Robin Reid against Svenotke. I remember Duke McKenzie commentating on that fight, saying that in all his years in boxing, amateur, professional, as a trainer, a manager, a fighter, and just being a pundit, he'd never seen anything like it. It was a shocking disgrace from the referee Roger Tillerman. What they did to Robin Reid that night. What they did to Robin Reid that night in Germany was nothing short of scandalous. Now, I want to point out that if you want to watch the Reid-Otke fight, just put Robin Reid versus Svenotke YouTube and go and watch for yourselves. It's on the BBC. It's really bad, and Robin took it well actually, but it's bad. It's really bad. You know, I feel for Robin Reid because he won the WBC, he won the IBO, and he was robbed against the WBO, and he was robbed in the WBA and the IBF. He could have had the clean sweep, Robin Reid, all 5 belts, but robbed. And like I said, I feel for him, but the first 3, Robin Reid Otka, Abraham Miranda and Matthew Macklin against Felix Sturm, go and watch them and let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. You're the boxing hardcore fans. Let me know if I'm right on all these 15 fights that I've just told you about there. So peace out. Keep on trucking. Keep supporting boxing. It's a fantastic sport. Shout out to Castle Conservatories and Climate Cool Air Conditioning, both of Doncaster. Alright? Thank you very much.
That's all.